Okay, good morning. A warm welcome to the Humanist Community of Silicon Valley Sunday Forum. My name is Alex Havasi. I'm a member of the Humanist Community. The Humanist Community is a chapter of the American Humanist Association, and humanism is a secular. Oh, that helps. Humanism is a secular, reality-based philosophy of life that affirms our ability and responsibility to lead ethical lives that aspire to the greater good. We value freedom, health, compassion, and using science and reason to acquire and apply knowledge. If these words describe your thinking, we welcome you to become a member of the Humanist Community. Please help us continue to present these forums by donating to the community. You can find out how to donate to our organization on our website, www.humanist.org. No, okay.
Yes, I have
today's
one.
forum is going to be a discussion of the changing climate and how we're going to encourage free thought over the next 4 years.
All right. You just heard about the Humanist Community in Silicon Valley. This is a joint event between the Humanist Community in Silicon Valley and the Atheist Community of San Jose. We frequently do this kind of joint event because it takes the best skills of the atheist community and the best skills of the humanist community and puts them together, which we want to do. So I do want to mention the atheist community of San Jose has existed since 2013 formally and was established to be a community, a local community for atheists in Silicon Valley and nearby, like San Jose and our region. And our local secular organizations exist for your benefit, and we need your assistance. The members of the atheist community, the humanist community, the Freedom from Religion Foundation local group, we need your support, some financial support, as well as your efforts to help us put together events that we can all enjoy. And during this coming year, and in fact, the coming 4 years, we're all going to need mutual support during the, shall we say, trying times in the United States. Also, one thing I just want to mention on a small side note, an announcement. Dr. Elizabeth Drescher at the Santa Clara University has just started her winter courses, 2 courses on non-religion in America. And she will be sending teams of her students to Humanist and Atheist Freedom from Religion Foundation and other secular organizations around our area. Today, we happen to have how many? 5 students. 5 students. Learning about non-religion in America from their local humanists and atheists. So we welcome the students and we welcome any other newcomers in the room or on Zoom to this event. Please support your local secular organizations in the future. Okay, so now I'm going to start our slideshow, if I can get Scott's technical help. The atheist community depends on the humanist community for technical support, let me tell you.
Did it?
Okay, have we got this? All right. Tell me if I'm doing the wrong thing with a microphone. Okay? Tell me. Okay, so today what we're doing, we are sharing our ideas today about how we secular people in America, which is maybe 20% or 25% or 15% of America's adult population, we secular people need to figure out what our strategic plan is for the coming days, weeks, months, and years under the hostile takeover, shall we say, of the white Christian nationalist religious right. It's going to be a tough time, and we need to help each other out and support each other, and not only be reactive, but also proactive. So today's talk is, oh, and what we're going to do is I'm going to give a rather short talk, not a very long talk, and then we're going to open it up for discussion. We're asking for your input, what your thoughts are for your secular strategic plan coming up in the next month, year, years. So I represent both the atheist community of San Jose, and I'm also a member of the humanist community, of course. All right, this didn't go down. Technical support.
Try now.
Okay. So briefly, we have a problem, and that is something called white Christian nationalism in the United States. We're going to talk here briefly, very briefly, about the harmful impacts of Christian nationalism in the US and what secular Americans can do to protect ourselves and our country against Christian nationalism. Going to talk about defensive and proactive options, short-term strategies and long-term perspectives, our personal, local, and community strategies, our national level strategies to promote secularism, and we will focus on those goals we care about the most, and you're going to tell us what they are for you. And I'm going to emphasize that we need courage and optimism in the face of the grim realities that we face in the coming years, and that we all need mutual support. So here's a question for you. How do you feel right now, given what's happening tomorrow in our nation? I hope you all know what I'm talking about. How do you feel about the current situation in our country? Some people, I know people, even family members and friends, who are disgusted. They're just saying, I want to back off. I want to forget all this. I want to regroup. I want to focus on my own life and never mind the national mess and the international mess. I can't handle it. I'm just going to go back to my personal life, my family life, my friendships, and my local community and forget the rest. Now, fortunately, of course, we're lucky. We're here in Northern California, where things are pretty good for secular people. So our local secular organizations were established to be a community of like-minded, non-religious people. So each of us could join and participate in one or more of our free thought organizations: the Atheist Community of San Jose, the Humanist Community in Silicon Valley, the San Francisco Bay Freedom from Religion Foundation chapter, the Silicon Valley Sunday Assembly, and our Bay Area skeptics groups, and several more. We invite you to be more active at the local level in our secular organizations. We need some of your time and money to keep these non-religious groups alive and relevant to us all. And we are going to need our local community in the coming years. What is Christian nationalism in the United States? Christian nationalism asserts that the United States is a Christian nation, ignoring our secular United States Constitution. Most Christian nationalists, when surveys ask them what they mean when they're talking about their Christian goals and beliefs, what they really are talking about usually is white Christians. Now, of course, there are a lot of Hispanics who are also who are Catholics, so it's not just white, non-Hispanic white Christians, but what most Christian nationalists mean when they say that they are Christian nationalists is that our country exists for white Christians, and other people are not really full American citizens and should not have the full rights of American citizens. Christian nationalists tend to promote fundamentalist evangelical Christian dogmas and Catholic Church dogmas, and they want to impose their beliefs on the entire rest of the United States population. Christian nationalism has grown in strength and power as it has gradually taken over the Republican Party from about the 1980s until today. So, what are some of the harmful impacts of white Christian nationalism? This is, needless to say, only a partial list. Many of you can add other items to the list of negative stuff that is happening with the white Christian nationalists. First, they're imposing their anti-abortion religious belief, and it is a religious belief that's causing these laws to change on the whole population of the United States through their repressive laws and judicial decisions. They are suppressing the rights of the LGBTQ plus population of America. The Christian nationalists want to take tax money away from free secular public schools and want to steer our tax dollars, yours and mine, toward private religious schools. And this is happening in many states around the United States right now. This is not theoretical. This is in process as we speak. And there is concern. There's an interesting phenomenon in some of the red states and the places that voted strongly for President Trump, for example, or Republicans, that now they're getting worried that their ordinary people, their working people, their poor and middle class people actually depend on free secular public schools, and the money is going away for the public schools in their areas. So there is a conflict within the conservative movement with the loss of money for our public schools. This is very serious. And money is being sent toward private religious schools, especially, of course, Catholic schools and other fundamentalist schools. The white Christian nationalists also want to ban books they don't like from public libraries, school libraries, and classrooms. They promote racism against African Americans in particular, but also against other minorities. They champion violence against those who are not white conservative Christians. And by violence, that includes gun violence, that includes attacking people who are not in agreement with them. This is very serious. Violence is being promoted by the white Christian nationalist drive. They're also rewriting US history based on lies, not on the truth of US history. So, for example, in some of the states where white Christian nationalism is in the ascendance, they are trying to get rid of the history of slavery in the United States, or the history of oppression of LGBTQ plus people, or patriarchy and oppression of women and so forth. They're trying to wipe this out of the history books in American public schools. So they're trying to rewrite American history. And it's lies. It's not the truth. They don't want the truth. Of course, also, the white Christian nationalists oppose greater equality of opportunity, and they oppose something called DEI, that means diversity, equity, and inclusion policies, which have been one means by which we've had a great deal of progress toward equality in the United States in recent decades. They're trying to roll all that back, and they're doing a good job of it at the moment. So here are some suggestions that I have for coping strategies that we could use. And of course, I want to hear your strategies too, because this is just me here. So first, we need to defend ourselves and we need to defend our country. But we also need to be proactive, not just reactive. We need to continue to promote enlightened policies while we fight the scourge of Christian nationalism. After all, it is discouraging to always be on the defensive and never be able to be on the offensive. So our national organizations, what they're doing is not just defensive, they are on the offensive as well. And some of us, like me, are on the offensive of will. We're not taking this lightly. Secondly, we need to act boldly in the near term. We can't just lie down and just let them walk all over us, but we need to take a long-term perspective. The United States has a long history of flip-flopping between reactionary periods and more forward-looking periods, like in our political system, back and forth, back and forth. We are temporarily in a full speed backward period. That's what we're in right now, starting very soon. Already started, actually. But this probably will not last. In the past, we more progressive people have succeeded in slowing down or stopping many of the worst policies of the white Christian nationalists. And we need to continue doing that very aggressively in the coming years. How about national level strategies to promote secularism? We are fortunate in California, as you know, especially Silicon Valley and the San Francisco Bay Area, but the rest of the country matters too. We can't just hole up in our, reasonably open-minded state and forget about the rest of the country. We need to help solve this problem nationwide. So I suggest to you that you could do what I do and my partner Mark, my husband Mark does, to join and contribute to and be active in one or more of our fabulous national secular organizations. They are all very effective in fighting Christian nationalism, and you and we need to be up to speed about what they're doing. They're doing great work every day. Examples, of course, are the Freedom from Religion Foundation and its new action arm, FFRF Action. So I, for example, am a member of both FFRF and FFRF Action so that we can do action work as well as work that FFRF is constrained like American Atheists and American Humanist Association because we are nonprofit organizations. We have to be we can't get involved in promoting one party over another or one candidate over another or anything like that. It is illegal for us to do that. But FFRF Action and the different action organizations that these our national secular organizations are allowed to, they are categorized not as a nonprofit and not as tax deductible. So they can do the action work we need them to do. You could be a member of any of these organizations: American Atheists, American Humanist Association, Center for Inquiry, and especially the Americans United for Separation of Church and State, which is being very visible these days in the media. An important organization is called the Secular Coalition for America that is located in Washington, D.C., and all of our national secular organizations are members. The organizations are members of the Secular Coalition. The Secular Coalition is not a tax-deductible organization. It is an action organization, and they defend us in the legislature, the national legislature, the courts, and executive branch. Also, I forgot to mention here the the Secular Student Alliance. Very important, because we need, as for example, we have all these students right here, these college students. We need to bring along new people into the secular world and showed them how much better it is to think clearly and to think to like pay attention to reality in their belief structures. And so the Secular Student Alliance is very important in doing that in the high schools and colleges in America. So ask yourself, what important goals do you care about the most? I suggest that in these difficult years coming up, you might choose one or more of these important secular values and neglected needs and put your energy to solving that issue. Some people, for example, are most concerned about global warming and the climate crisis destroying our planet, or about attacks on women's reproductive rights and couples' reproductive rights, and so forth. So examples of goals that you might focus on in the coming years, should you choose to, are the struggle for reproductive rights, the abortion struggle, which is happening nationwide. Another option is to save our democracy and save voting rights so that minorities are not able to control our government and our society. Or you might want to focus on human rights at home and abroad. You might want to focus on overcoming racism and bigotry, which is rampant in the white Christian nationalist world. You might want to focus on reversing the rising inequality of wealth in America. That's an important secular goal. You might want to try to stop gun violence, which is a scourge in America. Perhaps you want to promote equal rights for LGBTQ plus individuals and groups. And especially you might want to try to help save our planet and reverse global warming and the climate crisis, which is affecting all of us everywhere, especially right now in Southern California, for example. Or you might choose to promote equal educational and job opportunities, for example. And there are many other things you might want to focus on as your special contribution to making the world a better place and our country a better place. So that every morning when you wake up in the morning, or every week when you start the week, you can say to yourself, okay, I'm not going to be part of the problem today. I'm going to be part of the solution today. That's what I do. I'm always part of the solution. So my conclusion before we open this up to discussion is several conclusions here. I want to say that we are justified in ensuring the welfare of ourselves, our families, our friends, and our local secular community. We need to have a strong base for being effective in the important ways we need to be effective. And then we can join one or more national secular organizations in order to expand secularism and stop the negative effects of Christian nationalism. Each of us can choose one or more critical issues to help solve for our nation and the world. We can join one or more leading activist organizations and give some time and money to enhance their success and our success. And we also need to have both short-term perspectives and long-term perspectives. We can't just focus on the grim reality today, but look toward the future and find a path to make things better. So now I'm going to open this up for discussion. Greg on Zoom will notice when people are raising their hands on Zoom. And here in the room, Alex and others will let people have their say. So I want you, the members of this event, to ask yourself, what is your own secular strategic plan? What is your plan for being part of the solution instead of just caving to the current situation? Thank you.
Yes.
Excuse me? Mhm.
Oh, that was easy.
Okay, that's quite an assignment, I think. Uh, and I got to say, I don't have a definite plan now. Although one of the things that keeps occurring to me when I see ballots is we vote for the school board, and I don't know how to get information on all of those candidates for the school board. I think it's very important.
Okay, Alex just had some feedback there, and he was saying,
Inside the room, unless the speaker is on, you can echoing.
I can-
Right there. Yes. It has to
I've-
be on,
I've-
so you can hear it.
I've turned my microphone off.
Oh.
They can hear me there, and they can hear my voice here if I speak.
okay, technical difficulties. So Alex was talking about school boards. This fight at the school board level is nationwide. It's happening everywhere. And you've seen it in the news. It's a big deal. And if any of our audience members here wants to add information to this, because some people are focusing on this problem. A lot of white Christian nationalists are trying to take over school boards and to change the curriculum in the schools to do all the things we were talking about, get rid of the true history of the US, get rid of pro-LGBTQ stuff, telling the truth of the history of slavery and so forth, trying to get rid of all that and get rid of diversity, what is it, DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion in the school systems nationwide. And they've had some success, but we've also been able to fight them back in some places. And sometimes they have lost the local elections in red states, which has been very enheartening. Does anybody have anything to add? Alex, you want to ask the question again the way you want it asked? Because I just repeated what I thought you said.
Let me think about that a minute. Yeah, what my comment was that I see on the ballot, I see elections for the school board, but I know virtually nothing about the candidates running for the school board. And it would be nice if there's some way to keep track of that, to find out who these people are. And I'm not sure what that is. It might be that if like I might get in touch with uh, uh, who's it? Um, what's the organization in San Jose? League of Women Voters. Also, they're in San Jose, and they
Oh.
might have a specific concern that they could keep us
Yeah.
informed of. Yeah, I'd have to think about it. Maybe I should.
Excuse me? Yes,
Yeah,
she's talking about, Penny is talking about the
DeFrank,
Billy
Billy
DeFrank
DeFrank organization. Yeah.
LGBTQ plus organization.
Okay.
They could certainly tell you about stuff having to do with LGBTQ plus
Okay.
rights. Often in different school systems around the country, it is very clear who the group is that's trying to take over the school boards. They're usually called like Moms for Liberty, or what are the names of those organizations? Other people can remember the names of those. There are particular right-wing, reactionary, religious organizations that are trying to take over the school boards and school systems all over the country. And their names are known. The names of those groups are known. Yes, Senna.
Yes, Senna.
Yes, the school board is very important, and we should attend those meetings. That's the place where they start out when they're working their way up the political ladder until we get a president who feels the way that to do. So there's a place to really. Another thing one can do is letters to the editor. That's the most read part of the paper, and that's very powerful too. By the way, they require your real name, and I'm putting forth to them that in these times when you can be retaliated against so easily, we should be allowed to have uh, uh, you know, not fake names, but politically active names that are not there with a name and address. I did actually have somebody show up at my house. I said after I said something, but not you don't usually get that. Um, oh, and also we could get back in touch with some of the things like the Democratic Party is working pretty hard on things, and that's a group that after we lost so to, to this terrible person, we kind of lost interest. But it's a good idea to hook up again.
Wait, let's make sure that people are hearing Senna. Did people on Zoom hear what Senna said or not?
Yes.
That's a yes?
Yes.
Okay, because here in the room, it was not all perfectly clear. I got some of what Senna was saying. She was suggesting that people can attend school board meetings to find out what's going on with school boards. And what else did,
Letters to the editor.
huh?
Letters to the editor.
Letters to the editors. She suggested that to newspapers, you can write letters to the editor for your local newspaper if there is such a thing anymore, which often there isn't, right?
Okay.
And what
Yeah,
else?
I just noticed Sandra had her hand up. Did you want to talk?
Well, yeah, I'd just like us to explore the school boards a little more, and I'd like to know if the students have any ideas about that. But I do think it's important to put efforts into the school board. But I find myself pretty ignorant. I don't even know if school board meetings are open. I don't know if you can submit issues for the school board to discuss or some kind of resolutions. Like writing a letter to the editor, copying the school board or something if it's about what school boards could do. And maybe even asking a member to run for the school board. And I wonder about what kind of objections we might meet. Would the typical kinds of people who run for the school board object, saying, well, you don't have young children, so you're not eligible to be having input into what the schools do? So those are just a few of the things that I'm wondering about as far as school boards.
It might be worth contacting a lawyer or a local politician or something just to find out what the rules are for school board meetings and other events. But are they announced?
Paul says the school board meetings are open, generally speaking.
Well, they can come with executive sessions. Like any public entity, I guess.
Mhm.
But they're open. Anyone can go. You can ask to speak.
Good to know. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Sandra.
Yeah.
That was helpful.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I think it would be wise not to take a terribly adversarial position, but it might be more productive to focus on kinds of issues that affect both the Christian nationalists and the secular community, such as how are we going to lessen the influence of our military industrial complex, which is shipping billions of dollars all over the world to military bases and supporting very unpleasant practices in the Middle East by shipping off tons of money and military equipment. And that is polluting the atmosphere, that is killing people, taking away any rights. And our whole economy sort of apparently depends on that. And unless we get some kind of control over that, I don't really know what we can do.
Okay.
That's a big order. Get control of the military industrial complex worldwide. How about that?
Hmm?
Can I clarify that? I think what we need to do is focus on goals that both sides of this war or fight that you're proposing have similar goals
Mhm.
instead of the differences between us.
Okay,
Did
thank you.
everybody hear that important point? She was saying that let's focus on the things that we all have in common across the political and religious spectrum and go after our common goals together, both the Christian nationalists and the conservative people, as well as the secular people
Okay,
and more
Michael.
progressive people. All of us have some things in common. We have things we want for our children that we all have in common in the schools,
Like national health insurance.
like national health insurance, for
Let
example.
let Michael speak. He's had his hand up for a while.
I have a couple of questions. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So one question. So we are talking here about Christian nationalism, not about all Christians, obviously, right? So I am wondering how many people or what percentage of population actually support it. This is obviously a very local group and influential in certain circles. But how many people? What we are talking about? Like 10%, 20%?
I'm not sure we know. The white Christian nationalist or the Christian nationalist subgroup of American adults is, as you say, much very powerful beyond their numbers. That's true. But they are taking over very strategically, taking over the political system wherever they can, and the legal system, the judicial system, and being very effective at it. And so we need to fight back in a big way.
But actually, my second question is related to the first question. So if we are going, by the way, I don't like to use this military terminology like fight adversaries and so on, and because we are talking about peaceful politics,
Yes.
not about wars. But if we want to use non-violent democratic means for achieving our goals, then it is important to realize that most religious people are not our enemies. I was never religious. I'm secular, but sorry, I don't see religious people as our enemies. So the religious extremists, maybe, and not only Christian nationalists, because we have Islamic extremism, we have all kinds of religious extremism. But we cannot neutralize the danger from them unless we build a very broad coalitions, including by necessity a lot of religious people, more religious people, because there are more religious people in this country than secular people. That's the reality. And so why are you only talking about mobilizing secular people? I think it's just not enough, because in democracy, strength is in numbers. We cannot build this coalition only by relying on secular people. And also, many of the goals that you just described, they would be supported by many religious people in this country as well.
Which is why we have that wonderful organization called Americans United for Separation of Church and State, which is an organization full of religious people as well as secular people. That's one of our top organizations for fighting white Christian nationalism, the evils of it, while bringing together religious and non-religious people for positive purposes. Yes.
Okay, let me call on Zem. He's had his hand up for a while.
Actually, no, I just raised it, so if someone else has something to say. If not, I can
Well,
talk.
you're the only hand up there, so
Yeah. So I'd like to, agree with much of what Michael said, absolutely. And I think we are painting with too broad a brush here. I mean, to me, the problem is quite narrow, that we want to prevent America from becoming a theocracy. In other words, a country in which religious doctrine is used to guide the legal and institutional framework of the country. And an example of this was this Alabama Supreme Court ruling outlawing IVF. What the problem was is the guy was quoting scripture. The judge was quoting scripture as he handed down his ruling. That's a big problem. It's almost orthogonal to whether you agree or disagree with the actual verdict. The fact that you would use a religious text to justify it is unconscionable. But I recently came across a term called Christianism, which it kind of is I guess analogous to Islamism. Being an extreme form of Christianity. I agree with Michael. Most Christians are not Christianists. But Judith, I'm concerned about the race baiting. White people can be religious bigots regardless of race. Why the whiteness? We are fighting these people because they are Christian nationalists who want to impose their religious views. We're not fighting them because they are white.
Right.
So you're sort of doing this dog whistle, which I don't quite understand. The other thing is we really have to keep it narrow. And let me give you an example. One of the things you listed on the things, the evils of Christian nationalism is opposition to DEI. Now, personally, I loathe DEI. I think it's a toxic ideology that's tearing this society apart. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is not to convince you good people about the evils of DEI. That's not my point. My point is that you're throwing into the bucket things that are orthogonal to the question we're discussing. And all you will accomplish is drive some people away, like myself, for example. I'm an atheist. I'm a secularist. I'm concerned with the same things you are concerned with. But you're throwing other things in the kitchen sink in there that are A, orthogonal to our purpose, and B, alienate some people. And I give you just one example. There are many others. So that would be my concern, not being too broad, and dealing with issues, social issues, justice issues, which are all very important. I grant you that, but keep this fight separate, sort of. Because like Michael said, I think many religious people agree that, this is not the role for the state to enforce religious doctrine, even though they might be religious themselves, right? We cannot
Let me throw
alienate,
throw in something here.
Okay.
Let me throw in something here. Yes, I hear you. However, what often happens, for example, the decision of the Supreme Court to strike down abortion rights. They don't say out front, okay, here's scripture we're quoting here. We're getting rid of abortion rights because of Christian scripture. That's what they're doing. That's exactly what they're doing. It is religious belief that's driving the suppression of abortion rights and reproductive rights. That's what it is. But they never say it, okay? They don't say it because they know it's unconstitutional to say it that way. So the problem is when religious backwardness is what's driving the backward policy, the full speed backward policy, half the time they don't say it's religiously motivated, but it is. You can see very clearly when you just watch what they say and watch what they do. So I don't think you can just get so narrow as to say only when they quote scripture should you go after them.
I think another thing about the whole question of abortion is that it's a slow and detailed process going from a fertilized egg to a newborn baby, and it's hard to decide where to draw that line.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oded?
Okay, I think about religious. Why we have to separate church from the government? Can we separate mosque from for the State Department? So when you say something about other religion, you say you're Islamophobia or whatever you are. All this humanistic movement, progressive, has this religious. People believe in that without asking questions, just like any other religion. So this is religion. So they don't have room for this group, progressive group in the government, because people believe in this like other people believe in God or whatever they want to believe. So you're not separate than other religion. You just religious by yourself. So don't ask for separate. Don't ask for being part of the government. Thank you.
Thank you. Jerry.
I think a major reason that we're having the problems we have right now is because of the information. Social media has good stuff and bad stuff, a lot of bad stuff. It's hard to know what's okay, but the corporate media is not so good either.
You should speak loud enough for the room also.
Am I not loud enough for the room?
Yes, you can stand up.
Oh, okay, I'll do that. Yeah, I'm saying part of the problem is the information we get. I don't know where to get reliable information. I don't actually, I've gotten to the point where there's nobody I trust out there, whether it's social media or corporate media. And there's certainly a lot of diversity. You've got definitely left wing and right wing stuff in the media. This is a real problem. This is why we have a lot of polarization in this country. I think that's about all I can say right now.
Okay, thank you, Jerry. Oh, you've used up all my points. Michael.
I don't think that this is fair to say that the stance on abortion from these conservative circles was religiously motivated. I just fairly recently read that actually this issue of abortions, and from the book about exactly this topic, about this religious nationalism, that the issue of abortions was only it became a kind of rallying call from these circles when they found that it serves the political purpose, the purpose of mobilizing the electorate around these very conservative political goals. And before that, the Christians did not really, Christian organizations did not take any positions against abortions. But of course, granted, there are some people who have very strong feelings about this issue, including probably motivated by their religious beliefs, but rather it's their moral beliefs. And there are arguments that could be made both ways. But again, the real problem here that we don't have this, we actually do have a kind of weak national consensus regarding the issues of these reproductive freedoms. But, and this is kind of middle ground. But these extreme wings on the both sides of this issue, they amplify their extreme positions and they cannot agree on anything. And again, this is another problem related to our inability to build these broad coalitions about around what most people would agree about solutions. And we just keep amplifying these extreme positions and just expect that other people would agree with us. But it's probably not a valid expectation.
We have a question here. What about Michael? Where? Michael.
No, that was
Higginson.
Michael speaking.
Okay, fine. I would like to go back to my original question to all of you. That is, what is your strategic plan for the coming years? You can call it a secular strategic plan, which I do, or you can call it simply your own strategic plan. How are you planning to cope both proactively and reactively with the state of our country right now and the state of the world right now? I'd like to hear from other people about what your thoughts are on this question.
Yeah, Mark, let me bring the microphone over.
Need the microphone.
I'm concerned that we're all voicing.
It's this microphone here.
We're all voicing useful and needed concerns about our own secular organizations. Meanwhile, global warming is continuing unabated while we're all distracted by our own concerns. The Trump administration is showing no concerns about global warming at all. So that's, to me, is the most important worldwide concern for us. I think this applies to both religious and non-religious people.
Did everybody hear that?
Yeah. Did you pick that up? Is a cotton pepper. I think I'll just pass this around.
Okay.
Michael.
Yeah, so I really appreciate this question about our plans. And my answer would be, I don't have a secular plan because I don't self-identify as a secularist necessarily. But although I am secular, as I said, but I know that there are many policies, and I also appreciate your focus on solutions. And there are many proposed solutions, many policy ideas that are already supported by the majority of Americans. Secular, religious, Democrats, Republicans, anyone in between. And this is related to almost any major issue, whether we are talking about climate and energy, whether we are talking about elections, whether we are talking about immigration. Take any contentious issue and you can find a number of already existing common ground, a number of positions that, according to the polls, most Americans agree with already. And so what I think we have to do is that to make sure that our policymakers know this, that they hear from us, that we all want certain things to be done. And I consider this should be a major focus. It's not even finding the common ground, although this is, of course, important. But on many issues, the common ground is already known. It's already found. I can point you to some maybe websites where you can find these positions. But we have to push our politicians and inform our politicians that this is what we want them to do. They need to hear from us. And there is a number of ways how to do this, and partisans on both sides, they all use these ways to promote their partisan views. But we have to use the same ways to promote what the real majority of Americans want. So that's my personal plan, if you want.
Mm-hmm. Good idea. Alex.
Carl.
Yeah, I almost lost what I was going to say. I think, Judy, I think your idea is a good one. The question is, what are we comfortable with in doing? I think that's the question you're asking, right? Basically. And most would be like, I'm not a person that walks around and holding signs or something. That's just not my go. The problem I find presently is that when you say feedback to the politicians, I mean, I don't know who is saying that. Trouble is, if you try to do that, the only thing you do is you get on a list, and then they say, talk to your congressman, tell them what you want to know. They won't take your survey unless you pay them money. Now, that really bothers me. I was wondering if anybody know any way to be able to do that without paying money, because that's all they seem to want to do. And once you get on one list, you get on 100. Pretty soon, it's sickening. But if anybody knows a solution to that, I'd love to hear it, because I'd like to do it that way.
Right
Thank
there.
you, Carl.
Alex, right there. Speak.
I'm sorry.
She wants to talk.
Jana.
Yeah, that's a problem, all right. I think one of the big problems is that our government, although we're also touting ourselves as being a democracy, is not very representative of what the people actually think. And I see the only thing we can do, I agree with Michael, is to spend energy reaching out to them and telling them what we think. I call my senators at least 3 times a week, but almost every day. And I say the same thing over and over again. I try to keep track of what's going on in Congress, but basically, I tell them what I do and don't want them to do. And I also write letters to the editor, and that makes me feel a little bit better.
Okay, thank you. Sandra.
Yeah, I think those are great ideas rather than sign a petition, which is a really lazy way and only costs you money. It is to do as she just suggested and call that person who's supposed to be representing you, or write them a letter, which takes you a little more time. But if you write a letter, you can send it to a number of people who are supposed to represent you. And so I think in the short term, we have to do that in order to prepare for the long term, which is 2 years from now. Maybe we can vote those people out if they ignore us and put somebody in there who is interested in listening to what we have to say.
Yes, what's your name? Dana.
Hi. Along what Judith was asking for, what are we doing? As the mother of a T in the LGBTQ acronym, we have, immediate concerns, right? Everyone I know who is in the transgender community has had to make a plan B, right? We in California, we hope that we're going to be protected, but we don't know how much Newsom's going to be able to do. And the consequences are drastic, severe, whatever. So you have to have a plan B, right? Everyone's getting their paperwork in order. People have a plan B for if they have to get their medications, do they go to Canada, Mexico, Portugal, whatever, right? So it's a very immediate danger, and you have to have your plan in place. As you know, the right spent $215 million on anti-trans ads. I mean, just to induce fear, right? And get people to get out and vote on that topic. Anyway, the other thing we're doing, though, as Freedom from Religion Foundation, we are tabling at various farmers markets around the area. And although it is California and we're kind of preaching to the choir, we have had incredible interaction with the community. And we have secular Student Alliance materials on our table too. And we would love for some of you guys to help us table. What else do I want to say? Oh, we're also lining up some speakers to speak, at various places around the Bay Area. And I think that, raising awareness and being able to discuss things in forums like this really helps. So thank you. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you, Dana.
Thank you, Dana.
Zim.
Yeah, just to briefly respond to Judith, a few months ago, I did a presentation exactly on Dobbs. I was also curious about the way they decided it. And it seems the issue had to do with their rejection of substantive due process as a legal doctrine. And they also invoked something called ordered liberty, which I guess it goes back to Jefferson about, something, whether something is implicitly allowed, even though it's not said, explicitly, right? Personally, I still find this decision very harmful to America, but I would not smear everything I disagree with as being automatically Christianist, because that's not a way to make friends and influence people by smearing them. You just don't do that. Oded made an interesting point as well, that it's not just Christianity. Many groups, are pushing for different, ideological influence in the schools, for example. Now, what can we do? I think we can do two things. One is sue. We need like a secular ACLU, and I think we kind of have it. I think FFRF and Americans United do have a legal
Yes.
arm. And I
Yes.
think that is very important. And the other thing is money. We need a super PAC. We need a super PAC because, like Carl mentioned, this country is corrupt. No, that's my theory. The United States is the most corrupt country in the world because public policy is bought and sold on the open market. And we have to join that market. We have to be purchasers. Okay, so what you do is you go to a swing state. Don't spend money in California. Don't spend money in Alabama. That's a waste of your money. You go to Missouri, where there's like a 50-50 race between a Democrat and Republican, and you give money to the person who supports secular, our secular agenda, which probably will be a Democrat, but not always, right? And we have to sort of play the game. The fact that this country so polarizes actually means that small groups can be kingmakers, right? And that includes ourselves. But I would avoid labeling others or smearing others. I think that just might drive people away. But money and lawsuits, I think this country runs on those two things, and we should get involved in that.
Send money.
No, don't send it. You spend it judiciously.
Yeah, I think we're living in weird times right now. Also, it's with social media. It's there's little you can really depend on. All the news is clickbait, and recent rulings have just magnified the effect of money on the system, although it was always there. Might be something to do about that. The news, I have no idea when that's going to clear up. Paul.
I think it's really pretty easy to make a contact with your representatives. Just go where they are. I'm a Democrat. I nearly every month I attend a Democratic meeting, which includes most of the office holders of local offices in the area. And if they're going to be, most of them, send them, write to them, has to be put on their mailing list for their local events, and go to those events. The usual thing is that they allow for questions and comments from the audience. Our speaker has listed a whole bunch of really good ideas of way to initiate conversations. Do those. She at no point suggested this was going to be easy. She must have overlooked that. But anyway, I attend that Democratic meeting each month. It's a luncheon meeting. If there's anyone here that wants to go next month, I'd be glad to take you as my guest. After that, you have to pay. But find out where they are. Go there.
Do you want to say anything?
Okay, thanks, Paul. Yeah, and I think also when we were talking about going to meetings and so on of school boards or municipal meetings, the thing to remember is if you disagree with someone, listen to what they say and respond to, they'll present a view of the world and respond to that view. Don't make it a personal attack. Yes, Laurelyn, did I get your name right? You're muted. Still muted. Oh, you're holding a picture up. Can we blow that up?
Laurelyn, you're muted, so we're not hearing you.
Hi, my name's Laurelyn and I live in Sonoma, and I've tabled a little bit, and I wanted to comment on Dana's recommendation for tabling. This is a table we had in Oakland, and it went supremely well because people would pass and look and recognize that wonderful banner. They didn't have to stop and talk to us about God or religion if they didn't want to, but they could if they wished to. So I'm suggesting Dana's idea of tabling is a good one. Free, simple, easy to do, and fun.
Okay, thank you. Dana.
Okay. We need to get rid of Citizens United because that allows people with lots of money to buy our representatives that we've elected. And if you can find that online, I saw all of the people in Congress and the staggering amounts of money that they receive from various organizations. And so unless we can stop that somehow and make that illegal or control it in some way, I really don't know, because they spend all their time when they're not. I don't know if they ever go and do any political work because they have to spend all their time collecting money for the next election.
Yeah, that's a problem. Yeah. Christian.
Yeah, Christian. I personally think that main issue is that there's a lot of misconceptions about what you guys sort of are kind of going after. I think a lot of people from the outside, out of this room, have a certain belief about what you guys believe in, much like how you guys have the belief about other people. It's, I think, doing the things like the table setup where you're just able to just talk to people and just get to know them, and like just how like we're doing right now, we're able to come to this event, we feel invited, I think events like that will, bring out more people, make them understand a little bit more, things like that.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of it depends on talking to people. Connor?
I agree with Christian, and I think perseverance is key, because I think somebody said this earlier, we have strength in numbers. So just slowly but surely, we talk to more people, inform more people of our cause, and grow our cause. And then over time, change will happen.
Thank you.
We have to be determined and persevere.
By the way, for people on Zoom, we're hearing from some students from Dr. Elizabeth Drescher's course on non-religion in America at Santa Clara University. And I do want to mention that her students in both her courses this semester, in the next month, will be visiting secular organizations for their what she calls field work. Right, guys? Field work. That means they go to the Atheist Community, the Humanist Community, the FFRF meetings, the Sunday Assembly, the skeptics groups, the Ethical Society, Ethical Culture Group, and so forth. And it's a chance to interact with this next generation coming right up here, who are exploring and thinking and trying to figure out their religious perspective or non-religious perspective, And that's one little thing we can do in our local area, supporting the non-religion in America students in Santa Clara University in the next month. Thank you.
Thank you. Claire.
Hi, good morning. I just wanted to add in, because Dana and I were at a table in Christmas in the Park and down in San Jose, and Dana was counting that she had, over the course of the day, we had spoken directly to like 80, 85 groups of people, individuals or groups of people that had come into the booth and had no idea that FFRF exists. And that was the thing that I was left with, is how effective, even just like one at a time. We had a feedback from somebody who came to the booth that she had joined, and how courageous we were to be sitting out in what is considered a Christian environment and talking about the separation of church and state. And it's those one-on-one contacts. It's the making eye contact. It's the waving hello. It's the petting their dog, or telling them how cute it is, or saying hello to their baby, right? Those were the things that, when you make that human connection, I think that made a real difference. As to what I'm doing, I'm confused, honestly. I'm so baffled by how we got here. And I'm a person who I'm single, I'm self-employed. I work 60 hours a week. I keep my own home and pets, and I'm responsible for so much, and there's so little time. What I'm looking for is resources that I can contribute money to, or do background work, because I can't go to a table every weekend. I can't go to a lot of meetings, political meetings, those kinds of things. But I'm looking for organizations that are worthwhile supporting in whatever capacity I have, and contributing to that. And I chose FFRF initially because I knew that they were doing watchdog stuff with, getting with the legal arm of it. And I wanted that, right? So I think for me, it's just, I'm showing up here because I want to see what you're doing. And if it's something that resonates with me that I can contribute to, that doesn't, impact my mental health and my my ability to make a living in the world, because I just don't have a lot of time. And so those are the things
I want to emphasize that Claire is right here. Working people don't have a lot of time. Some of us, are retired and we've got time, like Paul or me, but most people don't. And so what we're trying to find here is very efficient ways that we can make a huge difference using a little bit of money and a little bit of time, and not very much money and time, and supporting these national organizations, Freedom from Religion Foundation, American Atheist. They're doing terrific work. The Humanist Association, fantastic work. And just the slightest bit of money to them, or just joining, and you get on their mailing list about what their actions are, they are having an enormous impact, far beyond the paltry numbers that we have in these organizations, far beyond that. And similarly with the other organizations like that are dealing with climate change, or dealing with racism, or that are dealing with whatever other crisis or suppression of reproductive rights. A few organizations, just the slightest bit of money and getting on their list and being a member keeps you informed about what you can do and what they're doing to change the whole country and even the world. So we can have a huge impact with a little bit of money and time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I may have to call on someone.
Alex, you can close things down when you think it's appropriate. I'm going to get on Zoom when you close down the room.
Oh, okay. Did that go out?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Scott, do you want to make any comments? Put you on the spot, huh?
Willow.
Here I am. Okay. I'll just say the same thing I always say. If you're talking to someone and you want to, bring them around to your point of view, it's good to have facts and arguments and reasons but it won't work. The only way someone will listen to you is if they know you. So yes, let's do all these things, and I guess I'm putting my weight behind some of the things Michael said. Let's make friends, and we'll get more done that way.
Jim.
I just wanted to make a brief comment. With all of the different groups that have the same aims to oppose imposing religion, we need to unify. With all these dozen different little groups, we just do not have the power that these huge assemblies of mega churches and all the business organizations and such that can profit from them. We just need to unify. Why aren't the humanists and the atheists meeting at the same place and same time? Why do we have the ethical, what is the other organization? Okay, I would like to hear that answer.
Okay, and I have a response to that. Good. I have watched, and I have been a member of numerous atheist, humanist, secular, skeptic, and so forth organizations through the years. It is powerful that we have a number of such organizations, so that if one of the organizations runs into any kind of trouble, like, problems with their leadership doing something scandalous, which has happened, I won't name any names, but each of our organizations occasionally runs into problems, and they're such small organizations that the religious right can basically just wipe us off the map pretty quickly if we don't have the other organizations supporting us. So we need actually to keep numerous non-religious secular organizations, numerous organizations working on the environment, numerous organizations fighting a white Christian nationalism. We need numerous organizations because otherwise we're an easy target. If we all combine together, we're an easy target. We do actually combine for political purposes using the Secular Coalition for America in Washington, D.C. All of our organizations are members of that organization that fights for our political goals in Washington, D.C.
But the problem is, aren't we underfunded because we're not united, and we do not have the synergism that a united group might have?
Yes, we're underfunded. I agree with that.
Okay. Because it was brought up just a little bit earlier, I just wanted to point out that next Sunday, I'm going to be having a talk on polarization and how you deal with polarization so you can get people to gather together more in the middle as opposed to on each end. Additionally, it wasn't pointed out that the AHA does have a legal arm, a PAC, and you can provide money to that group. They tell you what they're working on, and usually they're the usual, humanistic type things.
Okay, Paul, did you have something you want to say?
Yeah, I think it's important that we begin with the organizations that we're already a part of. I've been a member of the ACLU since the 1940s. They feel that their positions are very clear about separation of church and state. I don't remember the dates, in the 1950s probably. The a right-wing militaristic group decided to do a public march in Skokie, Illinois. The ACLU defended them in their right to march, even though their views were repugnant to nearly everybody in the ACLU. And about 25 or 30% of the members of the ACLU became non-members of the ACLU after that event, but they stood by their values. And so start there. No matter what the organization is, maybe it's your immediate family. It may be the only one you see a lot. Talk to them. Talk about cousins, and to do it from where we are.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So, Judith, you want to
Wrap it
go
up.
wrap up here, and but yeah.
So thank you all for coming to this event and participating and giving us your perspectives on how to deal with the very difficult religious and political situation we're in our country, and the kinds of negative stuff that's happening now and will escalate in the coming weeks and months. We're all aware of what's coming down the pike. We need each other, and we need to support each other, and we need to support our national secular organizations in their fabulous legal work in the courts and in their attempts to change legislation in every state. Like American Atheists just put out what they call the State of the States report on all 50 states about what's going on in all 50 states with regard to secular rights and all of the important topics that we're talking about today. So our organizations are working in all 50 states and in the legal system throughout the country. We can help them with the tiniest bit of money and time. And so let's do that. And I concur with Paul. So some of us, people like me, are members in the Brennan Center for Justice. There's these other organizations that are fighting for human rights and freedom of speech and so forth in great principle, highly principled organizations. If we support them in little ways, they'll keep us informed about what they're doing and what we can do. So we can have an enormous impact far beyond our numbers, and that's what we should do. If you want to help your local secular organization be more effective at the local level and the state and national level, join us. Help us to help lead our organizations, help organize events and speaking events and discussion events, and let's get active and get together. Thank you. We appreciate all of you.
Just a final short statement. Let's not assume that all religious people disagree with our position on this.
Right.
And there are a lot more of them than there are of us who are active. So that's a place to try to be influential. Bring it up there too, just as boldly as you would here.
Yeah.